Hi, welcome to the Property Show. I'm Jayashree Kurup. I'm editor MBTV. I have with me a very nice panel here. I have Pankaj Bajaj, he's president CREDA NCR. I have Bimal Hegde, he's CEO Chartered Housing. I have Rajan Bhandelkar, president Naredco West. Rakesh Reddy is director Aparna Constructions, and Surbhi Arora is the head of research Magic Bricks. Thank you so much for joining us. We started this conversation because Surbhi, our research head, has recently come out with a housing sentiment index where we asked our consumers what they think they want to buy, whether they want to buy, what is the mood of the consumer. So Surbhi, can we first start with what your findings were?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Jayashree. This is our second property buyer sentiment survey during COVID-19 crisis to understand the buyer sentiment and its impact on real estate market. We did our first survey in April at the start of the pandemic, and now conducted this survey in the first half of July post unlock to understand if there is any change in the sentiments of buyers in the last 3 months. So this is the sentiment profile of our respondent. So if you can see, we got very good audience where around 3,045 people responded to our survey. People from all the geographies responded to the survey. Almost all age group participated here. And interestingly, 64% of our respondents were first-time buyers and 76% respondents were salaried. So this was all about the respondent profiles. And now let's talk about how the consumer last 3 months.
Surbhi, I think you have a connectivity issue. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Can we go to the next slide, second slide, please? Yeah. Surbhi, go on.
Okay, so that was about the respondent profile. And now let's talk about how the consumer sentiment has changed in the country. But this,
yeah, go. You'll have to repeat that. I couldn't hear you.
Okay, although COVID-19 continues to spread throughout the country, the sign of recovery in European countries, low mortality rate, and positive news around cure has actually helped in reviving the sentiment. So the good news is that sentiment seems to be reviving. About 93% of the respondents are positive and buying property as compared to 67% in April. So in the last 3 months, we have seen an improvement in the sentiments. The volume of property searches on our portal has also reached to almost pre-COVID levels. Next slide, please. Let me now talk about the little takeaways that what buyers are looking for. So I would say recovery is primarily dominated by end users, as almost 87% of our respondents are looking to buy for self-use. In both the survey, we see that there is a clear preference for ready-to-move properties, with more than 80% respondent either looking to buy ready-to-move in completed projects or near completion projects. The focus has shifted to essential buyings, and the buyers are looking for gated communities near to the local market, workplaces. They are more popular. Most of the buyers are giving less preferences for amenities. We asked in our survey about developer preference in buying, and interestingly, there is a high demand for developers giving economical options. So about 60% of the respondent giving more preference to economic options. And definitely buyers are looking for attractive deals. And in my opinion, cheaper home loans are also one of the driving factor. So right now, currently, if we talk about home loans, they are all-time low. And for example, SBI is offering a home loan at 7.35%, which is all-time low. So that's about the buyer survey. This is not the last thing, actually. I think I missed one. So last but not the least, a strategic investor is also active in the market and looking for distress and attractive deals for long-term gains.
Okay. Thanks, Surbhi. And there are 2 or 3 things from this I'm going to pick up. And first of all, what we see is that there is a large number of end users. Now, I'm going to go to my panelists and figure out whether they see this as the reality of the market. So, Pankaj, if you look at the profile of buyers in the market, are you seeing it dominated by end users today?
That has been the situation for some years now. If not for 2 years, then maybe even more actually.
Okay.
So people had not been looking for property as their primary investment vehicle. Property was basically an end user investment for quite some time, and that has become even more acute after COVID. And it is the importance of property as a financial thing is even lower. So people are not doing what we are finding, and that's a very soft assessment. That people are not doing a lot of calculations in terms of rates of interest. Of course, it matters, but it's not such a hard financial decision anymore. It's more of a soft emotional thing, which is anyway something that an end user would like to do. So it's not something. It's not a very hard financial thing anymore.
Are these first-time buyers? Are these new buyers who earlier thought they could live on rent? And
no, these are all first-time buyers. So basically, somebody who's buying a second home or a third home is by definition a financial investor. These are people who want to live in the house. This could be a first-time buyer who's been living in a rented accommodation, or it could be somebody who's wanting to upgrade, wants to go to a better accommodation. And thirdly, it could be people who are living in cramped spaces, joint families, where somebody's got married, maybe they've had kids. So nuclearization process is also accelerating. So these are all people who are looking for better houses, and this lockdown has really made a big impact on people's psyche in terms of how they assess housing in terms of their hierarchy of needs. I think it's right at the top after health.
Bimal, when you look at the Bangalore market, help me understand what are the user profiles that you see today. You're on mute.
Sorry, I didn't want to disturb, so I kept myself on mute. Okay. So if you see Bangalore market, it's primarily and always been a salaried IT kind of professional who's been the majority of the market, right? And that continues to be there. But to add to what Pankaj was saying, what I would think is for the past 2 years, he's absolutely right. It's the end users who've been in the market. Majority of the market has been end users. But what this COVID has actually done is it's acted like a catalyst. So many of the buyers were just fence sitters till now, wondering, is the market going down? Is the market going to crash? And waiting for an opportunity or waiting for something to take their decision. And this COVID has acted like a catalyst for them and actually helped them take the decision. And that's why you would see, even in your report, there are many people who are very interested. Almost 96% of the people who are saying they're very keen to buy a home in the next 6 months, right? And that is primarily because of this acting as a catalyst. And they feel that now, because of COVID, developers are going to give a very good price and they're going to get a really good deal, to put it in the customer's point of view, right? Even if the prices haven't changed, the customer is going to get a feeling that they are going to get a good deal in the market. And I think one thing that's common pan-India, most customers today want to kind of invest in a ready-to-move-in apartment just to mitigate their risk. And if they're getting a good deal, then they may as well go for a ready-to-move-in rather than wait for 2 years, 3 years, or whatever the number of years for the project to complete, and depending on the status.
Right. Rajan Pandey, do you see people going for ready-to-move-in houses, or are under construction houses also selling in the MMR?
Jayashree, see, I have a total different view on this. See, people think of problems. When you cross little bit beyond a problem, there is an opportunity. I will tell you, in this Corona time, especially only 2 things are famous. One is Corona or COVID-19, and second is stay at home or be at home and be safe. So I will tell you, basically I am telling you this, after birth, any person on this planet may not be at home for so much longer period unless he is or whatever. The person is and to be healthy, he was
Sorry,
at home.
I'm sorry,
So try and understand the importance.
sorry, you have a
Sorry?
bandwidth issue. Can you repeat that?
What I mean to say, ki after birth, no person on this planet has stayed so many days at home, in spite of he being healthy, and he stayed at home to be healthy,
Yeah.
which is very, very important. So you try and understand what was very, very important aspect in each and everybody's life was home. You can ask any female home housewife, you can ask her, do you want gold or diamond necklace? She will give her own gold and diamond necklace and tell the husband to buy him a house. Because everybody today wants a safe home to be there. And second advantage, what has happened because of Corona is that social distancing. The people, earlier people used to think, कि बाबा नहीं, छोटा घर है, चलेगा. Now people are thinking, because they are all the time at home. Earlier, the people were just going home to sleep. Otherwise, practically in a daytime, they were out either on work or whatever job. But today, because of staying at home or home quarantine, whatever way, everybody was at home only. So they have come to know the importance of home. And I beg to differ from people because I will tell you, in this last, in Mumbai, there is still, it is not, it is, even though lockdown is there, because lockdown is not open fully, because in partially still lockdown is there and the business are not full-fledgedly on, the malls are not on, the restaurants are not on. So I will tell you, you'll be surprised, I have sold more than 200 units, 200 units in this lockdown period, and all units, out of that 90% units are under construction. So it depends on the developer's credibility. If the developer's credibility is there, yeah, of course, I sold all this apartment in a complex where I already delivered. So people have seen. It is not in a single building. Yeah, of course, if it is a single building and if your work is not on, you have difficulty in selling. But when we have delivered 1,500, 3,000, 4,000 homes, so people know that in this complex it is delivered.
Okay. Some of the stories I'm hearing is that one, credibility of the developer matters. The importance of the home has become very high. A lot of first-time home buyers. Rakesh, I'm going to come back to you. In Hyderabad, is the demand for affordable homes? What BHKs and configurations are doing well right now?
Hyderabad, by definition, is in the affordable home category. I mean, if you compare to any other metro, Hyderabad is the cheapest metro thus far in the country, right? So, by definition, most of our houses fall in the affordable segment.
Ticket size to that?
So, the typical size is some between 45 lakhs to about 90 lakhs.
Okay.
Right, that's about the average size in Hyderabad that moves.
Yeah.
So from what we have been seeing in the last 3-4 months, like Mr. Ranjan was saying, we have seen almost about 70-75% of our pre-COVID numbers in terms of sales that have happened, and it's only going up. And one of the things is also that the cost of acquisition has come down, because now it's the serious buyers who are coming in to site visits. Even though the numbers are down, the conversion percentage is very much there, up, right? So these are serious guys who are coming, seeing, and then buying, making the decision to buy immediately. So those numbers, the sales numbers are going up. In the 2.5, like you mentioned, for the sizes, especially the 2.5, 3 BHKs. Again, that's a peculiarity for people in the Telugu states of Telangana and Andhra. We prefer big sized units at affordable price. Even if you build a small size unit at an affordable price, people always prefer the bigger unit. So 2.5, 3 BHK was doing well pre-COVID, and it's doing much better post-COVID.
Okay. Are these first-time buyers?
First-time buyers, yes. Majority of them are first-time buyers.
And do they belong to the state or have they come to the city to work? Are they
So,
the
again, for Hyderabad, for the last decade or so, post financial crisis, it's always been the first time buyer for a variety of reasons, whether it was a Telangana separate state agitation or the uncertainty in political climate for the state. So it was always the first time buyer. And for Hyderabad, as such, majority of them are in the BFSI segment. And this segment attracts people from all over the country. It's not just Telugu speaking people.
And so these are people who have come to the state to work, and they have been living on rent, and now they're thinking of buying their own house.
Absolutely, yeah.
Pankaj, the NCR has been an area where there has been a lot of problems in terms of delayed houses, not delivered houses, and so on. But today there is a lot of demand in the market. So you also represent the industry. So help me understand, what is that status of the industry, and what are the few rules of thumb that a consumer should keep in mind when he goes to buy a house? You're on mute.
Sorry. See, one of the misconceptions has been that NCR is an oversupplied market. Yeah. See, a number of projects have literally stalled. No work has been going on, and these are large mammoth projects. Yeah. Whether it is Unitech or Amrapali, these cases are in the Supreme Court. Then there's massive supply stuck in JP, which seems to be slowly working its way towards completion. But if you put all these three together, that's nearly 100,000 houses which have been stalled for years. Yeah. Now, if you take out that supply, then you would actually see that there is more demand than supply. See, there are a number of other projects which are stalled, but they're very minuscule. Compare that to the delivery which has already happened. So most of the delivery has happened, and a lot of supply is not there in the pipeline. Mm-hmm. So there's a demand supply mismatch, I would argue, but definitely in favor of demand, not in favor of supply, because you take out these stalled projects. Mm-hmm. I would not call them supply. Someday they may hit the market, but I won't put a time frame to it. Okay. Given that situation, it is a great time. And also one more piece of data I want to share with you. Probably you can put actual numbers to it. Uh-huh. There have not been very many launches in the NCR in the last couple of years. Yeah. Now that's a very important piece of data. Mm-hmm. And especially in the last 6 months, hardly anything has got launched. And even the numbers that you're seeing, these are largely affordable category housing, which has got launched in Gurgaon. Regular housing has not got launched in Gurgaon for some time. Yeah. Even in Noida, new supply has not hit. So what I'm trying to say is that right now it sounds a little funny, but 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, we would find that there would be a housing shortage probably, because for middle income people who don't want to go into the affordable category, because affordable means a certain house size, which in the post-COVID times may not be a practical house size, because you want to work from home, you want to do schooling from home. It is difficult to do all that when you're living in an 800 square feet compact apartment or 1,000 square feet compact apartment. So if you want to get a decent house, then this is the time to lock that in. Now, where do you lock that in? You lock it in one of the suburbs, either Noida or Gurgaon or even Faridabad, Greater Noida. These are all good places. Infrastructure has come up. It has taken time, but it has come up. Dwarka Expressway is going to get complete. So these are all good locations where you can lock in a house. And this is also a good time to drive a good bargain with the developer. Home loan rates are good. So one can say that, builder hai, industry ko represent kar raha hai, is always going to say good about the industry. But look at the data. You take out the stalled supply and you look at the situation. So this is a great window opportunity for a home buyer. Now, where exactly wise your service is that, mostly people are looking for cheaper houses. Yeah. In preference to even the track record of the builder. I would advise them, don't do that. Pay a little extra, no problem, but go for supply, which is sure, like my colleague on the panel said, that need not necessarily mean that you go for ready to move in. Yeah. You can go for under construction property, but go with a developer who has a very good track record, speak around it. If it is a complex where some towers have already got delivered, then the risk is even lower, because then you can speak with the other residents of the complex and get a sense of, how it is. how the post-possession interaction is. So it's a great time, whether you buy it in the next 3 months, that I don't see a lot of that happening because people are, just settling down now, or 6 months or 12 months, but definitely do consider if you're an end user, then I think this window is going to last 12 to 18 months. Make up your mind, look around, lock in a good deal and lock in a good home loan rate. There have been friends of mine who locked in home loan rates of 7% in 2007. And in 2012 and 13, we used to wonder, my God, what a good deal you got. So it's a question of when do you lock it in. This is a great time. I've never seen such a great time to buy in my career. The other thing is, even if you look at it as a financial investment, home loan rates are sub 7%. They're 6.8%, 6.9%. FD rates are 3% or 4%. And post-tax, you hardly get anything. The differential is hardly anything between a home loan rate and an FD rate. Now, why do you want to keep your money in a FD where you're hardly getting anything? Put it in as margin money and take a reasonable home loan, lock it in for 20 years, prepay it at some stage when you have the ability to do it. But all in all, a great time to buy. Go for a good developer, pay a little premium to a good developer. If it is a first time developer or a developer whose track record is not that sound, then you could go even buy that property, but buy ready to move in, should have completion certificate. All in all, it's not all doomsday that you've made a property investment, it's going down the drain. No such thing. In fact, great deals happen in distressed times. This is a good time to buy is the bottom line from my side.
Surabhi, there have been a few policy issues that have come, which has actually sorted out some of the things, right? Do you want to refer to them, the policy changes and how consumers are responding to that? You're on mute. Surabhi, you're on mute.
Okay, so see, not so many policy changes have come during these COVID times, but at the same time, we have not seen any registration charges increasing, any stamp duty. A lot of states are trying to give some discount in stamp duty and registration charges. So these are actually helping. And the most important thing is home loans are right now all-time low. So that is one of the reason why people are looking for locking such kind of deals. And I think what people are looking right now is a space efficient house in smaller budgets. So that is overall, if I look at the India level, that is the thing which they are looking for. They are not looking too many amenities right now, but yes, the proximity to workplace, the proximity to the school, the local market, social amenities, they are playing the important role in decision making.
I'll take this conversation about policy issues to the developers. Rakesh, do you think the governments have been giving a helping hand to the industry? And if there were 2 or 3 things that you would like the governments to give, what would they be?
Well, I would just say that just let it be and don't do anything. I mean that will be a big enough helping hand for us to continue doing our business, right? So it's good as it is, as long as there's a kind of localized lockdowns and forced shutdowns don't continue to happen. So that uncertainty from the labor's mind is removed, and so as it is, people are coming back now. It's almost 80-85% of the strength at our sites for construction activity. People have come back, and more would come back by the end of this month and beginning of next week. Next month, we should be at 100% of our capacity. Okay. So once the uncertainties are removed, both from the government side, so consumers would be enthused to come back again with renewed confidence, and from the labor side itself, the construction side. Once they are back, the construction moves forward, then it just becomes a virtuous cycle that keeps repeating.
And is there anything that you are doing to, you've lost some time in the lockdowns. Are you going to make that up?
Yeah, I mean, we're almost working 24/7 in 3 shifts with the labor to catch up on the time that we have lost. complete the projects. We have 6-month grace period, but our intention is to reduce that as much as possible and deliver those homes on time.
Okay. And that's a positive message for a lot of consumers who worry that you have been given extra time. Will you stretch the timelines? Vimal, is that the case in Bangalore as well? You're on mute. Vimal, you're on mute.
Yeah. I don't think any of the developers, whether it's from CREDAI or NAREDCO, if you look at the numbers, it doesn't make sense for us to unnecessarily delay the project. It makes sense to actually finish the project in a shorter period of time.
Yeah.
And with the increased demand that we are seeing post-COVID, the increased demand in a very short span, right? If there is a demand and the time taken for that demand is longer, then it kind of negates the whole increase in demand. But in such a short period, as Rajan ji also said, he sold 200 units. So that's a very good sign. And therefore people, and I mean, developers in general will look at finishing the project faster, because that kind of also indirectly instills the confidence in the buyer, saying that, their money or the project that they've invested in is actually going to be delivered ASAP, and there's nothing to worry. And that kind of spreads, the message spreads, and it impacts the entire fraternity and the industry, right? So I don't think it's in anybody's interest, especially not the developer's interest, to delay a project. I don't think any developer wants to delay a project. So knowingly and in a very systematic manner wants to delay a project. It just doesn't make sense. You want to finish it as fast, finish the sales fast, and move out. So
And
even in Bangalore, you wouldn't see any of those delays. I mean, in Bangalore, if you look at all the CREDAI members, especially, you will not see any complaints of delayed delivery.
Okay.
It's always within the time limit promised.
Okay. And have you seen?
So, Jayashree, I just want to add, in terms of support from the government, see, most of the demands that the industry has been having are more structural in nature, not something that needs to be given now and then withdrawn by the end once the COVID is gone, right? So we're looking at changes in taxation, whether it's the GST rates being rationalized on construction items, the set off being given back to the industry. When the rates were reduced from 12 to 5, they've removed the set off. So we want that back. So some of these are more structural in nature that needs to be addressed for the industry, not just because of COVID, but despite.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, this is a good time to reset, because the governments are listening to you. You are asking the governments. The consumers are watching very carefully, and it seems to be a very end-user-driven market. So everyone's looking. All stakeholders are pushing in the right direction, in the same direction. So which is why I asked you, what are the kind of interventions that you would look for from the government? Rajan, you want to talk about the interventions that you're looking for from governments, or that the governments have given?
See, government has given whatever is possible with them. See, what happens? We go and ask government, you give us everything. See, we know the position of the government. They don't have money even to pay salaries. And see, the corona, this is such a pandemic that everything is at stop. You can say that God has pressed the pause button except for interest. Except for interest, for everything the pause button is there. So interest is the only thing that you whether you put pause button or stop button or whatever, it doesn't happen. It doesn't affect it. It is moving on its own direction.
So clearly, God was a banker,
So,
right?
see, I am very brilliant and I am very positive. Of course, because if you see, government has already given. I think I'll switch off my video because internet, then you can hear the voice properly. So important is what happens ki Baba, government has given, see, they are given, even though the consumers were very unhappy, they were given us 9 months extension in RERA.
Yeah.
So which is a very good move from the point of view, because people might be thinking they are given as extension, but if they wouldn't have given extension, the state entire, you will not believe. Pardon me, Pankaj and everybody who is from Noida. I was telling government in inverted comma, telling that the entire country would be Noida. You want to make entire country Noida, then okay, you don't give us anything. We don't have any problem. But if you really feel, see, we haven't done anything wrong. For first time, developer hasn't done anything wrong. This is something done because when they, why government invoked force measures, because they knew this is not done by any developer or anything. This is done by nature. So 101% government was very, very positive. They have given us this. They have given us even extension of all permissions. See, all permissions are extended for 9 months. And even so, that's a very big boon. See, we might be thinking, kya kiya hai? But once your permission is getting over, and if you have to go and get it renewed, you have to go each and every table and you have to take out all your problem. Only the thing is that ki baba, we were requesting them that all government should do sumo moto that. See, they are given, the central government has already given, but the state government should follow it up and they should do it sumo moto, so that if my permission was getting over in December 2020, automatically I could get extension till September 30th September 2021. So I did not have to even apply also. It is very, very simple, because it doesn't make them any problem, any difference, any difficult. See, government was very kind enough, because they asked me when I was in discussion with them, they asked me ki, what about our renewal charges? I bola, sir, you take that renewal charges, because renewal charges are in peanuts. I'm sorry to mention that they are so less that I don't have any problem paying that. But the process to pay that is very big. So they were kind enough, they didn't kept any renewal charges also, without anything, without charging a single penny. They have renewed it and extended for further 9 months, right, which is a very, very, very good thing.
Will developers use that extra 9 months, or are there methods of speeding up the construction so that you will be able to cover up some amount of time?
See, I will tell you what happens. I agree with entire panel when they are telling, see, if the project is delayed, the maximum loss is to the developer. You try and understand, because his interest is on. He has to go and take a new permission. He has to go into RERA. He has to face all music of all consumers who are at book. So for him, it is always better and win-win situation if he completes the project beforehand, before time. Yeah, but today you can ask then why developer are not doing it. See, the developer are not doing it. There are two reasons. The first reason is liquidity. Liquidity, what happened when we launch a project, we think that so many flats should be sold. If the flats are sold, automatically the project gets completed in time. But sorry to tell you, people like you tell the customer, please wait, the prices are going to go down. The people, when we did.
I'm the one person who has never said anything about prices. In fact, I'm going to come to you with prices, on prices. I don't believe that.
I'm not talking about Jayashree, I am talking about media. I am not talking about Jayashree, I am talking about media and the politicians. See, who are the politicians?
No, bankers have said it. The government officials have said it, and therefore the media will report on it. And there will be it is a something on the table which you have to address. And I think there are many ways of addressing this. The point I asked you about what you want from the governments, I think if you look at Maharashtra, the government has announced that it will not hike the stamp duty or the registration rates for a year. That is a positive move. That means that the developer benefits, the consumer benefits, right? And that the industry should take cognizance of that. Similarly, the industry has said for years and years that the government, it's a heavily taxed industry. So I'm surprised that not one of you has raised the point that at this point of time, what are the few things that the government should let go of so that this industry can go forward?
No, Jayashree, Rajan, can I speak?
Jayashree, चिल्ला के गला सूख गया हमारा. आप क्या बोलते हो? इतना ये प्रॉब्लम इतना ये है कि मीडिया क्या करती है, मालूम है, डेवलपर ने बोला वो नहीं छापती है.
अरे आपको बोलने दे रही हो यार.
डेवलपर ने बोला
क्या ही बोलूंगी
मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ, जब one journalist called me and told me कि yes, the prices should go down or not, I told him yes, the prices should go down, but you please print this. He didn't print this. I told him prices will go down provided the government reduces their taxes, their premiums. Today, if we sell a flat of 1 crore rupees, the government takes minimum 30 to 35 lakhs. Who is the biggest earner? You try and understand. Government is telling they want to give homes to everyone.
As an industry, what is it that you're asking the government to release?
Okay, Jayashree, can I come in here? Can I come in here?
Please, please.
So just like Rajan said that Noida has become the synonym for delayed projects in the country, I think this whole debate of prices coming down and whether they can come down, this is very Mumbai centric. This is, I think these are people who just look at Bombay prices and probably South Delhi prices or Delhi prices, and they, they make comments on, prices for developers to clear their inventory. We don't understand, why they have taken so much debt. Why don't they just reduce their prices and clear their inventory? Now, how can you? They ask my other panelists from the other colleagues from Bangalore and Hyderabad, and I'm talking on behalf of developers from Gurgaon and Noida. We can't reduce even a single rupee of price. We are already, absolutely, probably not even making a single rupee of margin. We are selling Noida. You can buy apartments for 4,500, 5,000 rupees a square foot. When your cost of construction is more than 2,500 rupees a square foot, your cost of land is so high. You have cost of capital which is so high. There's no scope for prices. If prices go down further, let me stick my neck out and say these projects which are going to cut prices are not going to get delivered. You can't reduce prices to a level that the project does not get delivered.
Right.
So we are already at that level. In fact, the names that I took earlier in this discussion, that these are projects which got stalled. Many of these projects got stalled because they were sold at uneconomical prices.
Absolutely.
The price was just not viable. It was not practical. Now, why did they do that? They did that for a number of reasons, because they wanted the, easy availability of credit was not there, liquidity was not there. So they looked at cheap pricing as a way of collecting fast money from the public, and then they failed.
Yeah.
So let's not talk about reducing prices at all in the interest of the industry and in the interest of projects getting delivered and in the interest of home buyers actually getting their homes. Okay. Probably this is a discussion which should be had in Bombay, and there are structural reasons why land prices are so high in Bombay that can be addressed. But why are we talking about for the rest of the country? This is not a relevant or a pertinent debate at all.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it gets a lot of weightage in the media. Prices are not going to fall at all. I'm going to tell you. If there's going to be pressure on prices, then projects are going to stall, but the prices are not going to fall.
Okay, there are two things that have happened in the NCR, which I consider positive. I'd like your feedback on that. One is that the Supreme Court in the Amrapali case and said it would extend to all developers in the region, that the MCLR rates are going to hold when the Development Authority is rationalizing the past dues. Your response to that as a policy?
I'm so happy that you brought this up. Now, what has happened is that the Supreme Court has given their judgment, but the Noida and Greater Noida authorities are still not accepting it. Can you believe that? They're still not accepting that. See, all through these years, the boom in housing in Noida came in 2008, 9, 10.
Yeah.
See, if somebody were to do a calculation of the entire money which has gone into this industry, people who advanced money to the developers, most of it has gone to Noida or Greater Noida authorities, or it has gone to capital providers, and rightly so, they provide the capital. But that money, over 10 years, compounding at a rate which is, the nominal rate of Noida authority was 15%, the penal rate was 18%, compounded 6 monthly, the IRR was more than 20%. What happened was that Noida and Greater Noida Authority have such high dues on the projects that the projects are just not viable. That's why even the Swami Fund of SBI Cap, the stress fund, it could not extend any money in Noida or Greater Noida because the projects are not net worth positive. Now, why are they not net worth positive? It's not that the builders have run away with the money, all forensic audits and everything has got done. It's just that the Noida and Greater Noida authorities have the dues are calculated in such a way that just does not leave any juice in the project, and the projects fail. So it's a welcome judgment of Supreme Court. I hope it gets accepted in the right spirit by Noida and Greater Noida Authority. Now they in our legendary time-honored tradition, Noida and Greater Noida Authority have formed a committee. to address the Supreme Court judgment. Now there's a Supreme Court judgment. Why do you need a committee? Now there's a committee which has been formed, is going to give its view. All the developers whose projects are stuck or who are on the, you know, on the razor's edge in terms of viability, you know, you give them one push this side, they become unviable, and if you pull them back, they're viable. So they're looking at this, and they're all waiting with bated breath that, you know, maybe the authorities will accept it. Now, this brings me to you've been asking this question, what can the governments do? If the authorities in the Noida, Greater Noida area, and a parallel issue in Gurgaon side is EDC, external development charges. The cumulative dues are thousands and thousands of crores. No work has been done on the ground. The rates of interest are exorbitant. It has not got no correlation with what is with the actual implementation of external development works. And every 2 years the license comes up for renewal. Then the town and country planning in Haryana would say, oh my God, you have so many dues, you're in default, I'm not going to renew your license. The builder is going to run helter-skelter everywhere. He's going to stop his construction, reduce the supply of money to the construction site so that he accumulates enough and then pays his EDCs, overdue EDC, gets his license renewal. By that time, his whole flow would have gotten disrupted. For 6 months, the work would have been stopped. The customers would have lost confidence. He would have defaulted on a couple of installments to the banks, and the whole thing just goes awry. Why could they not simply rationalize it, the EDC, and make it linked to the actual progress of the work on the ground in terms of provision of external infrastructure, and not charge interest rates in the interim because they're actually not doing the work? So just like exorbitant unwise on Noida and Greater Noida side, similar thing in Gurgaon. That's the reason why NCR has earned a bad name. It is not a central government thing. If the entire money has gone to the authorities in these two geographies, and that's the reason builders have largely failed. If the governments were to rationalize this, the Supreme Court has stepped in. I hope I do see light at the end of the tunnel, but I hope the authorities and the government officers also see it, and we actually get to, use this opportunity to rationalize the dues and make sure that the houses get delivered. But again, it becomes controversial. Builders ko bonanza de diya hai. Why builders? No builders making any. Trust me, I head the Kadai in the NCR region. Most of them, 80% of them, just want to finish their project and get out of it. It's just not worth the trouble. So, but they do want to finish it. If you give them a chance, open an escrow account, make sure money does not go out. Every builder will be very happy to do it. Open an escrow, make sure that the money which goes into the project gets spent into the project. If at the end of it something is left, the builder is going to take out money. If nothing is left, then he is going to give it from his own pocket. So the intentions are clear. We do need a supporting hand from the local state government bodies in the respective two states. This is the biggest market of the country in terms of stuck houses, at least. And there is a way of solving this problem.
Sure. Great answer. Surbhi, consumers have been asking that, the kind of amenities they're looking for has changed. You want to elaborate on that a little more? You're on mute. Unmute yourselves.
So yeah, definitely there is a change in the amenities. So and this change is happening in last 2-3 years when the affordable housing came into play. So when we did this survey, we are seeing clear preference for the ready properties, for the properties that are fitting in their budget, right? And people are more preferring, after this pandemic, they are preferring gated communities, the projects which have good connectivity with the employment hubs, even if they are far away from an employment hub. If metro connectivity or road connectivity is good, that locations people are preferring. Amenities, when we spoke to a couple of people, they are saying they are not preferring too big projects because most of the time some of the amenities are unnecessary amenities. So people are focusing on social amenities. If your local market is nearby, if your school is nearby, you have a gated community, simple apartment, they are preferring those kind of amenities. Because there was a time in 4 or 5 years back when it became like a swimming pool is a necessary thing for a gated community. But that thing is changing now.
Bimal, clearly consumer preferences in terms of amenities have been changing. Are developers responding to that? Do unmute yourself.
I think at least in Bangalore, I've always seen developers being very quick and agile in terms of reacting to any consumer behavior, change in consumer behavior, right? Not just now, even in 2008, when the financial crisis happened. And again, even in your report, I've seen it, people have started would allocate less, maybe 20% lesser for their real estate investment. Developers quickly changed the way, sizing of apartments. So if you see pre-2008 in Bangalore, 2-bedroom units were 1,300 to 1,600, and 3-bedroom were all above 1,800, 1,700 square feet. But today, if you come to the Bangalore market, majority of the market has 3 bedrooms in 1,500 square feet. That's a reaction to what happened in 2008. And the same is happening now. So the newer launches, developers are adapting and making design changes in terms of being more receptive to what the consumer today wants. So it may be a small area in the complex for a common working area, co-working for the community that's living there. Because in case work from home kind of a concept comes, and not everybody will have the luxury of buying, if they have a budget for a 2-bedroom, they may not have a luxury of buying a 3-bedroom. Or they've already bought a 3-bedroom, they may not have the luxury of upgrading to a 4-bedroom. So the developer will give an amenity where, probably they'll have a common space in the complex, which can be used for common, for the residents to use as a working space, right? That's always been there. And I think Bangalore, I don't know, I feel, because I'm from Bangalore, that we react quicker compared, because I think we are a lot more connected to our customers. And a lot more, the market's also smaller, and that's a result of how big the market is and stuff like that. And most of the players who are big today, or majority of the players have been in the market for over 20 years, who are giving probably 80 to 90% of the inventory. And every one of them have delivered, have a track record, and therefore they're able to quickly adapt in their ongoing project and in the new launches. And just to add one more thing, I've always felt that, because the consumer ends up not really identifying the right thing when they're buying a home, right? What are the right things, what are the right boxes that they need to tick off? What's the carpet area? What's the quality? They don't give that much importance. And there was a time when consumers were really bothered about how big is my swimming pool. So you would see the advertisement saying Olympic size swimming pool. My only question is, how many people want to swim in an Olympic-sized swimming pool? All that I would rather allocate to a good home, allocate that, make it more efficient. That is what your report is saying. But we've always in Chartered Housing always believed that, give efficient homes, whether it's a good time, bad time, people always value that. And I think people are going back to the basics, and therefore you will see that popping up in your report.
Rakesh, are you seeing consumers looking for, asking about the social infrastructure? Is there connectivity? Is there schools, hospitals, hotels, entertainment complexes? Things that matter, which are all around me, because suddenly COVID has shown you that you have to be in your home, in your neighborhood more than everywhere else, right?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, even in the report that Surabhi was talking about, I think the second point was on the gated communities, right? So one of the things before the lockdown was lifted, the number of cases, corona cases in Hyderabad were very contained. Even post the lifting of the lockdown, most of the cases are in, these housing societies that are not part of gated communities, independent houses or standalone apartment buildings, and markets in those areas, and so on and so forth. But one of the safest areas throughout this crisis has been gated communities. And people have noticed that. So there's a big gravitation or preference for people to buy into gated communities. And the appeal of gated communities is that it's more like a self-contained. So you have your mini hospital or a pharmacy that you can go to for your small things like fevers, coughs, and colds. Don't really have to go out. Then you have, like you mentioned, social infrastructure for people to get together, organize parties. And since again, gated communities have a decent footprint in terms of number of people staying. So again, the social part of it is taken care of. All in all, the nutshell is gated communities as such, with all these amenities in from the social angle, are a big draw for people post-COVID.
Pankaj, a large part, like you said, a large part of the NCR is going to be completion of units, not creation launches of new units. How will the developers be able to meet the changing need of the consumer? Is there some engineering, reverse engineering that needs to be done, or it's fine?
No, it's all, the designs are all fine. In fact, some of the designs, I don't think anybody has a complaint on the quality of housing which is coming up in, or the designs which are coming up in the NCR. Our biggest, as developer community, the biggest challenge is liquidity, which has dried up for a number of reasons in NCR. It was anyway, many projects were thinly capitalized and they got stuck in one problem or the other. The localized issues like the Okhla bird sanctuary issue, then periodic NGT bans, then the Noida extension issue in terms of the farmer agitation. So now the problem is localized to what I referred to earlier in the Noida Authority dues and the Greater Noida Authority dues on the Noida side, and on the Gurgaon side, the EDC issues. So if those get addressed, I think the industry is well placed to address the demands of the market. The quality of housing in terms of common spaces, in terms of the design of the houses per se, I think it's all fabulous. I don't think there's an issue there at all. And the other thing is, it's not construction technology which is holding back the timely completion of projects. We have lost 6 months. Earlier, we lost 3 months in NGT. I think it's just lack of liquidity, where all the stakeholders have to pitch in and revive the projects. Now, by the stakeholders, I mean the authorities, the developer himself, then the banker, and probably some input from the stress fund. So today there was a news report on how at least 3 of the 17 projects which have gotten approved by the stress fund, they are in the NCR. I hope to see more of those. And these are projects which had been stuck for a long time. And then the 3 big elephants, JP, Unitech, and Amrapali, they're all in the Supreme Court. So if they get addressed, I think we'll be out of the woods.
Pankaj, you want to explain to consumers that with that last mile funding, clearly the stress fund is the last mile funding.
Yes.
Just infusing a small tranche of money, how does that kick the virtuous cycle? How does the entire project get functional?
So I'll give you some live numbers. So the paradox is a number of these projects actually have a lot of customer receivables, but they still have a liquidity crunch. So what is this paradox? Why a project? Many times I speak with other developers in in our association, and they talk to us, I'm stuck here or there. So we find that, they have 50 crores from customers, they have 20 crores of unsold inventory, and they only have to spend 55 crores for completion of the project. Now, why are they not able to do it? That's because the project is stuck for some reason. And because it is stuck and delayed, there's a crisis of confidence. The allottee says that, I'm not going to pay you any more money because you're already delayed by 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. I've been paying EMI, and rightly so. And I've also been paying rent. I don't have confidence in you anymore. I pay you more money and you're not going to deliver, and I'm going to be in a deeper hole. And he's not able to sell the unsold inventory because there's no construction, there's no confidence. So basically the last mile funding, what it does is, apart from actually giving money, it starts the cranes moving again. Again it starts moving and everybody gets confidence, the bankers get confidence, home loan starts getting disbursed. Maybe he's able to, once he gets some progress, he is able to sell some apartments which are stuck for years. And it is also safe for everybody because this last mile funding comes with its own set of very strict checks in terms of money shouldn't go out of the project. So there's an escrow account, there's joint signatory from the bank. So once this money comes in, the virtuous cycle starts kicking in once again, which has been broken in the NCR for the last 3-4 years, especially for the stuck projects, where we are saying that in spite of project having reasonable amount of receivables and inventory in terms of unsold stock, he's still not able to make it work. So we have seen a number of such projects. So many times a big project just needs a very small injection of liquidity to make it start working. Unlike other markets, say a Bangalore or Hyderabad or Pune, which have not seen such problem, NCR, so it's not that the developers in NCR were a particularly bad bunch of rotten apples. They were the same everywhere, but they landed into a bunch of problems. And then we do need injection of liquidity for that to start. And many projects have already started seeing that. So even in spite of all the problem, if you look at JP, they've done a phenomenal job in the last 1 year. They've been, in spite of being in IBC, they've been delivering houses. The work has been going on, and you can see that on the ground there every month they do give some offer of possession. Similarly, there are a number of other projects where developers have been at it. So if they get some liquidity and the authorities become a little reasonable, it will be a shot in the arm, and the projects are going to get delivered in the next 1 year maybe. And one more thing I want to tell you to inspire some confidence. We tend to look at the bad news. That's what tends to get the headlines. That 1.5 lakh apartments are stuck in the Delhi NCR. But in the last 5 years, delivery of more than 3 lakh apartments has happened.
Yeah.
Look at how Noida has transformed completely. The kind of construction which happened there at reasonable prices. People got houses. Imagine what the housing scenario in the NCR had this delivery not happened. A huge amount of delivery happened in Noida and Gurgaon in the post 2012-13. So that credit to the developers. Many of them have actually said that okay, no more development for us. We've done it once. So as I said earlier, if a project is nearing completion, or if it is a project a developer with a good track record, this is a good time to buy. Designs are fabulous, the quality is great, and we don't have a big problem of building in back or beyond. Most of these sectors in Noida and Gurgaon are well developed, and schools, social infrastructure, markets, everything is there. You look at what Greater Noida West was 6 years ago, and you go for a drive today, it will be unrecognizable. So there's some great developments happening. We just need some help from the authorities and this last mile funding for some projects. And I think it will be completely out of the woods for the NCR.
Okay. Rajan, you've had one of the most efficient RERAs in the country, which took off fastest. Did RERA help bring positivity? And currently, I think you guys are working on, how to get the industry, post-COVID industry back on track. How soon will the industry be up and active and delivery start in Maharashtra?
See, the COVID is very active in only majorly in MMR and Pune.
Yeah.
If you remove these two places, rest all places, majority of the life is normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, because of COVID, the life has been disturbed. But this COVID, what COVID has taught all of us, not only developer, all of us, that any calamity can come anytime, and nobody has imagined that such a calamity would have come and such a situation would arise. So this has, see, the people who have survived this, they are ready to face any problem. You try and understand, because people were, see, today everybody is at home, not because of curfew or not because somebody, if you go out, somebody is going to kill you. No, because they have a fear in them. Yes, if I go out and if I got infected of COVID, then the problem is that I tell people it's a very simple thing. You be at home and be safe. If you go out and venture out and if you get COVID, you will be quarantined. So it's better being quarantined and staying home. Instead of that, don't be quarantined, stay yourself at home. So it's a positive way of looking at it. Of course, RERA, see, we have got excellent chairman as Gautam Chatterjee because he has helped us like anything. See, majority of the way I tell you, see, in media also, many a times media has bashed him, or even people have taken him to the court. But of course, see, his main intention is that what is important, why RERA is there? RERA is there to complete a project. See, and he has already formed a conciliation group. We are conciliators from even MCHI, CREDA as well as NEREDCO and even MGP. You can't imagine, you will be surprised to know that MGP, the organization which is representing consumers, they are working hand in hand with developers. Till before conciliation forum, all the time they were at loggerheads with the developer. So we had meetings with them. I asked them, will you be satisfied if the developer goes to the jail? You tell, I'll put everybody, I will request everyone to go to the jail, you pay. Well, what would be happy? So they said, no, we want our home. Well, if the developer is there and if you cooperate with the developer, then only he can complete your home. The way Pankaj said, you see, the projects are stuck. But the projects are stuck not only because of developer. Only developer is at the forefront to take the big bets of the people. See, everyone. See, Noida authority was there or UP government was there. What they have done, everyone knows that. I need not have to repeat that. But does anybody blame any one of them? No. They only blame a developer. Yeah, of course. We thought, see, doing business is not crime. See, people might have been thought of having.
Why don't you talk about timelines? Today, what people want to hear is that post-COVID timelines, how much would COVID have taken the timeline? Because like Sydney's report showed, people do want ready-to-move-in units or as close to ready-to-move-in as possible. So how much has the timeline been shaken?
See, once again, that is a myth, I will tell you, because today, because RERA is there, even if I sell the flat, my entire money is supervised by RERA. See, I can't withdraw my money. At the moment, if I have to go to withdraw money from my bank, even though it is the money which is due to me, but I have to give a chartered account certificate, an engineer certificate, an architect certificate. I have to upload all the photos of the site where construction is going on. And this is entire into a public domain. See, the consumer who can visit RERA,
I'm not blaming developers saying that you've delayed timelines. What I'm saying is how much has COVID shaken timelines?
See, I will tell you the project which is at ground level, probably they might cover it. If you ask me in real terms, according to me today, see, till COVID is not over. But if you ask me today, of course, it is 6 months is the minimum time period which we have lost. And that time period which we have lost is not only because of COVID, it is because of even migrant laborers also. Yeah. See, the laborers who went back, today the labor...
Has the labor back?
Laborers wants to come back, but there are no trains. See, thanks to, once again, I would like to acknowledge here, thanks to our Civil Aviation Minister and the Secretary and the Civil Aviation Department, they have kept the prices of airlines so low that we can even afford to get our laborers by flight. I don't mind sharing with you, I got at least on my 3 to 4 sites, I got laborers from air. They came through flight because it was saving time of 2-3 days also, and the cost was not much more because the prices, they have sealed the price. You can't sell the ticket beyond the price. So see, government, we might think our government is directly not doing anything, but of course, indirectly, whatever best they can do it, everything, especially MoHUA, the Ministry of Urban and Housing Elevation Property. So they are doing whatever best thing they can do it. And we have got excellent minister as Hardeep Singh Puri and a super human being as Secretary Sri Durga Shankar Mishra. I call Durga Shankar as mother and father of our industry, as in his name only it is Durga and Shankar. So we call he is our parent.
Right, sir. One last question. With all the problems that the industry faced, one of the things that really got rogered was the subvention schemes. Now, the 10-90, 20-80, the 10-80, 10, various schemes, it wasn't all bad, right? It helped the consumer to a very large extent. Somewhere it faltered. Do you support a subvention scheme in this situation? And if so, what are the safeguards?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, of course, yes, because this subvention scheme is the only scheme which is only benefiting the consumer. See, people are thinking, see, some developer, I don't want to name it, they must have misdone and misinterpreted or misused the scheme. It doesn't mean that one developer has done it and you can stop the entire scheme. See, I am fighting with the NHB, but till today, it is not in the hands of NHB. Till it was with NHB, I don't mind sharing with you here. In the month of August, on a Sunday morning, I want to repeat, Nirmala Sitharaman had taken a meeting, and in that meeting, she asked in front of us to all secretary and everybody, when we explained to her that this subvention is only and only benefiting the consumer, because the person, see, a buyer today, he is staying in a rented house. If he is staying in a rented house, he can't pay his rent as well as EMI together, both the things at a time. So for him, he has to delay his buying. But if the subvention scheme is there, so automatically he will pay his rent till he doesn't get possession, and once he gets the possession, he starts paying his EMI. But unfortunately, as we tell, we are called as bad boys. The same way we are short of luck. So we are still waiting which day that luck will come and the subvention scheme will be on. I think if you bring a lady luck, and probably RBI is really thinking on one-time restructuring. Yes, of course, I am pressing very hard for one-time restructuring for all network positive projects. See, if they do only one-time restructuring, it is not going to help anyone. If they have to do restructuring, they have to do it. They have to give it a blanket permission to all the financial institutions and banks, because see, no bank is going to restructure any sick project or sick unit which is not network positive, because nobody wants to keep a ailing person or a project in their asset value.
Sure.
So
Sure.
once they know that automatically network positive projects 100%, if they do one-time restructuring, it is going to happen. So RBI is thinking seriously on these both the things. So let me see, and you wish us good luck, so that because of Lady Luck, we might get it tomorrow, or in a day or two, we can get a news from RBI.
I love being called Lady Luck. Let's go on. Surabhi, let's both of us bring luck to all of them. But Rakesh Reddy, two things that Rajan Bandelkar talked about: one-time restructuring of net cash worth positive projects, and the second one is the subvention scheme. What are your views on that?
The subvention scheme was not really big in Hyderabad market even before it was removed. So as far as Hyderabad is concerned, it really won't make a difference whether it's bought back or it's not there in the picture, right? And the one-time restructuring, it will help some of the stressed developers who stressed themselves quite a bit in Hyderabad, because the market was doing phenomenally well in the last 24 months or so.
Yeah.
So these guys went around buying land and all of that stuff. So there is a little bit of stress on some of the balance sheets. But then the projects that they're doing are quite good. So if there is a one-time restructuring, it will definitely help some of these people. But then my personal opinion is that you should always let the fittest survive, and the most prudent should get to eat the fruits of the labor. They've been prudent for a reason. So it's in markets like this that they'll have to enjoy the fruits of the labor.
And for the consumer, what you're really saying is that it is the prudent who have kept the business going. You should. Those are one of the picking points for the consumer as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think Mr. Pankaj also made that point earlier, that when a customer is buying an apartment, I mean, he probably does it once or twice in his lifetime, right? So when he's doing it, one of the most important things is the track record of the developer in terms of both his risk profile and his ability to be able to deliver his projects.
Right. Pankaj, restructuring and subvention. What are your views?
Restructuring is going to come. I mean, if restructuring doesn't come, then we have a bigger problem on our hands, because then the problem goes into the financial system. Unfortunately,
ifs and buts about who should be restructured, how it has. Rajan said that only cash flow positive projects should be.
That's obvious. If a project is not cash flow positive, I don't think there's any point in restructuring, because then the only choice is for the project to go into IBC.
Yeah.
I mean, the lender has to take a haircut there. Now, IBC for real estate, especially housing projects, has not been that successful. So we probably need some kind of carve out for real estate projects in IBC as to, because how they are to be handled. Because we had IBC earlier where initially in the JP case, the customers were not looked at as financial as creditors at all. Then they were put, even their charge was even superior to those of the lenders. So there's some confusion there. And lenders are also nervous for IBC cases, but IBC is a good mechanism if we can all agree to the rules by which we would play. So restructuring is a good idea, because a lot of things have happened in the real estate market in the last 2-3 years, which have been beyond the control of the developer, because of which they may not be able to routinely service their loans.
Yeah.
And if you get a good project which gets restructured, you get time to repay, nobody takes a haircut. In fact, on top of that, if we get some top-up funding, some last mile funding, not only will the project turn around, the home buyers will get their homes, and also the lenders will get back their whole money.
Sure.
Regarding subvention, I think we also met NHB. The concern there is that again, it happened in NCR that some subvention schemes, the developers defaulted in timely possession of the houses.
Yeah.
And then they could not pay the EMI that they had to pay to the home loan provider. And the customer said that, I never thought that I would have to pay beyond this point. Now, I thought that, I'm going to pay this some margin money upfront, and the EMI is going to be taken care of by the developer. Now he's not able to take care of it, and you're asking me to pay. I'm not going to pay. So NHB's point of view or RBI's point of view was that you're misleading the customer. He does not know what he's getting into. It's like an allurement without explaining the whole scheme. He does not understand the risk in this scheme.
Yeah.
So our point is that if we disclose fully, and there is adequate margin for the bank.
Yeah.
So probably in a subvention scheme, generally in a usual home loan, the LTV is 80%. That you get 80% of the value of the home as your home loan, and 20% you have to put margin money. Maybe the answer is that in a subvention scheme, the LTV should be 60%. I'm just saying. Or if it is 80%, subvention will be allowed only to the extent of 50%. But subvention is definitely allowed. It is the thing the world over, because while a project is under construction, it is very difficult for a middle class person to pay both his EMI and to pay his rent.
Right.
If we do not allow this, then we are pushing the market towards probably unhealthy consolidation. What is going to happen is that a lot of people do not have access to capital that the big boys have. It is good that we have a vibrant real estate market, a vibrant real estate industry where there are hundreds, there's free competition. Nobody can monopolize the market. No developer in the country can today say that I have a monopoly and I can charge whatever I want. We compete freely with each other. Of course, there are industry associations, but I compete fiercely with the project across the road, and which is a good thing for the buyer. Now, if subvention goes away and customers are not going to be able to buy under construction properties, then where will the developer get the money to finish a project from? So only developers with very strong balance sheets, they have access to capital, they keep getting projects money, and they keep becoming bigger and bigger. It becomes an unequal playing field between him and the smaller guy. And then we are going towards probably what I call unhealthy consolidation in the industry. So subvention is a good thing for the customer. The builder is paying for his EMI for the duration of the construction period. Of course, there has to be full disclosure to the customer in terms of what he's getting into, and there has to be probably a bigger margin instead of 20%, there could be a bigger margin, so that in case there's a default, and these days the chances of default are much lower because of all the things that Rajan and others said, because of RERA. Where is the money going? It's all lying locked up in the escrow in any case. Even if the builder wants, he cannot take out the money. So it is anyway going into the project. So the step to ban subvention was probably based on data or facts which emerged in the pre-RERA area, probably may not be relevant in the post-RERA area. So we should bring back subvention, probably in a modified way. And restructuring, I think it is an obvious thing to do. It was misused to some extent the last time around. So we can again build in some safeguards, and RBI, I believe, is working on it. Forget developers, even the RERA chiefs have asked the RBI to consider one-time restructuring of loans so that projects do see completion. So I think these are two obvious things which is going to revive it is in favor of the home buyers and the industry.
Vimal, your response to subvention restructuring.
I think most of the points have already been covered by all the other panelists.
It's that you're all from different geographies, so it makes sense. There are nuances that you bring in.
Yeah, but with respect to these two, I think pan-India, more or less, it's the same, right? Like Pankaj mentioned, which is a very, very important point, is that the subvention scheme that probably didn't work and was misused by certain people is because of the financial discipline that they did not have. Right now with RERA and all developers coming under the umbrella of RERA, there's no question of that, right? You have to put the money that you collect from the customers into the escrow account, and therefore there will not be any issues of diverting the funds, like Rakesh had mentioned about going and buying land and all those other things. Those kind of financial indiscipline will not be is the thing of the past, I would believe. So I personally believe that yes, subvention scheme is something that the government should look at. And with respect to one-time restructuring, I don't think we have to discuss that. I think it's quite a good thing that the government should kind of, and I think CREDAI, NAREDCO, everybody is kind of on a daily basis discussing this with the government. And I think there should be something positive.
Surbhi, you started with the sentiment index. Is there something that out of the sentiment index that you would like to close with?
You're on mute, Surbhi.
Surbhi?
Okay, so I would like to say that there are buyers in the market looking to buy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah,
so there are buyers.
Maybe your this thing is a little weak. If you put off your video, your audio will be clearer. Yeah.
Okay, so what I would like to say that what our sentiment survey is saying, that there are buyers in the market, they are looking to buy. The buying process has become a little critical because most of the buyers are right now finding a property visit a challenge, and they are also looking like services of video tours and digital visits to finalize their property. So right now it is time to act for that, right? How we can facilitate the buying process, because there are serious buyer in the market. I think it's up to developers, it's up to advertiser, it's up to broker, all the parties who are selling the apartments in the market. It is their challenge that they should quickly come up with some solution with respect to these challenges and provide a way, because what I feel that there are as earlier a lot of people in the panel said that we have got so many deliveries in the past years, and there are demand for ready to move in, but there are options also available in ready to move in apartment. Secondly, people are okay to buy apartments in the projects which have already delivered some of the units, because there is a more trust factor to it. So there are ample I would say inventory available in most all of the markets. So it's the time to leverage the demand and provide a small solution to the buyers so that they can make their decision fast.
Right. What we've actually discussed is solutions. We believe that there are plenty of buyers out there in the market. And what we need is, and there are plenty of problems out there in the market. But somewhere, I think whether it is with the developers, whether it is with the researchers like us, or whether it is and property portals like us, or whether it's with developers like you, I think today the whole ecosystem is way more positive. It's geared towards finding solutions to whatever problems have plagued us in the past. And like many of you have said, the fact is that we have delivered. Yes, there are lots of projects that are held up and there are solutions being sought. But the fact is that collectively as an industry and as a country, we have delivered far more housing in the last 3 to 5 years than we've ever done in our entire independent India. And that's probably the success of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. That's probably the success of each of you as a developer. Can we consolidate with finance? Can we consolidate with solutions, governance solutions? Can we consolidate with speed of construction, delivery of houses? That's the big question that's staring at us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.